What's up guys, I'm BTC. We just got a bunch of BlizzCon information, a brand new replay system was announced, and there's a new PTR with a whole bunch of buffs. First up, we got some BlizzCon information from Jeff Kaplan. He confirmed there will be no new maps announced at this year's BlizzCon. I kinda didn't think so because we just got the Busan control map, but now it's been confirmed. We are almost certainly going to be getting a new hero though, and there may be an animated short. Now, one of the things that he did announce, then this is a really giant thing, is a new replay system that they're going to be testing for the World Cup. This is at BlizzCon. You're going to be able to watch the World Cup in the game, and this is for PC only because of the whole beta thing, PTR, all that sort of stuff. So they can only put it on the PC version of the game for right now because they're testing it. But what you're going to be able to do in this replay mode is you can watch the game and you can have full control of the camera. You can watch any player you want, you can move the camera around, put it anywhere, you can slow down the replay, do all that sort of stuff. Crazy amounts of functionality that are going to be involved in this new replay system. Now, this opens up all kinds of possibilities. Obviously, it's going to be used in the Overwatch League next year, but Jeff Kaplan also talked about how this is going to be useful for everyone. So not just the esports level, but for you, me, everyone who plays the game. You can save your own gameplay, your recordings, and then you can go back and replay them. You can send them to friends. You can do whatever you want with that sort of stuff. So it's going to be a massive thing. And I think there's going to be some really good uses for the replay system, but I'm going to save that for another video. In addition to all that, we also got an update on the PTR, and that brings with it buffs to 4 different characters: Mercy, Reaper, Roadhog, and Symmetra. We'll start with Mercy. All of her changes revolve around her ultimate Valkyrie. The ultimate cost was reduced by 15%, healing per second increased from 50 to 60, and the developer comments say Mercy's ultimate was charging a bit too slowly after her base healing was reduced in a previous update. These changes should restore some of her ultimate strength and let it build up more quickly. So this is a buff from the live version, but at best this is just gonna make it how she was a couple of patches ago, but only for her ultimate. So yes, it's a buff, but it's still just kind of bringing her back to where she was before. Next up is Reaper. For his Hellfire shotguns, the spread randomization was reduced by 50%. And the Reaping, which is his passive, lifesteal increased from 20% to 30% of damage dealt. And developer comments, Reaper's specialty is fighting at very close range. The more consistent spread pattern and increase in healing from his passive ability will make him more capable of standing toe-to-toe with his enemies. I don't think Reaper has ever really had a problem standing toe-to-toe with the other characters. I think the problem lies with him needing to be really, really close, and yet not really having good abilities to get in close. Yes, you have the teleport, but that's an out-of-combat ability, and it's incredibly slow and has lots of other issues. And you can't really use the Wraith form in order to engage, because then you have nothing to disengage, you have no other abilities to use during the fight. So this is definitely a buff for Reaper, without a doubt, and it's going to make him stronger. And the fact that we have a massive amount of multi-tank lineups going right now with the goats and the multi-tank death ball and all that sort of stuff, making anti-tank characters stronger is definitely a good thing, but I don't really know if this is gonna have any major impact on any of that. Next is Roadhog. He got a whole bunch of changes. The chain hook decreased the delay before pulling a hook target from 0.5 seconds to 0.3 seconds, now greatly reduces the target's momentum upon being hooked, and cooldown now begins immediately instead of after the target has been pulled. For the scrap gun, spread pattern adjusted for both primary and secondary fire, spread randomization reduced by 50%. For the ultimate whole hog, knockback maximum velocity increased by 25% from 8 to 10 meters per second, and the horizontal recoil decreased slightly. The developer comments say Roadhog is receiving several large changes to make his abilities more consistent. His chain hook had issues with breaking when the enemy targets jumped or fell behind environment collision. It will now slow them down in the air more than when the hook lands, and wait less time before it starts reeling them in. Since chain hook's cooldown now begins immediately upon use, so it's no longer varies based on Roadhog's distance to the hook target. We've also moved some of the projectiles closer to the center of the spread pattern on his scrap gun, which gives him a more consistent damage output for its primary and secondary fire. Previously, there was a long-standing bug that caused close-range targets to fly much farther than expected. After this bug was fixed, we still wanted to keep some of the knockback burst it provided, so we increased the overall velocity cap to maintain some of that functionality. So, this is the big changes for him. Usually when you would hook someone, they could go behind a wall or fall off the edge or whatever it happens to be, and it would be incredibly frustrating for the Roadhog because the hook would land, you would see it connect, and then it would just break. But now that is not really going to happen that much anymore. It still might happen, but very rarely, because now when they're moving, once they get hooked, all of their momentum pretty much is going to stop. And also, when they do get hooked, they're going to get pulled in way faster than they get before. Now, it might only be like 0.2 seconds, but it's actually going to feel like it's a lot faster. And also, the fact that the cooldown begins sooner means you can throw more hooks. Now, also, he's going to be able to do more damage simply because most of his shot is now going to be focused more towards the center of where the crosshair is instead of being all spread out. So that means targets can be a little bit further away and you can still deal a good amount of damage to them. The next character is Symmetra. She got a buff to her primary fire beam. It now charges up 20% faster, and the developer comments say it's still difficult to use Symmetra's photon projector beam effectively even after its range was increased. By speeding up the primary fire charge rate, it takes less time to ramp up to its full damage potential and will be a stronger option when she's presented with targets to charge up on. As it is right now on the live version of the game, you pretty much almost always use her alternate fire. There's very rarely situations when you want to use the primary unless you have a Reinhardt or a Rissa barrier or something in front of you. But now that it's being sped up, this has a lot more damage potential. And from this change, the change to Reaper, the rework for Torbjorn, and even the change to Roadhog, even though he's in the tank category, it seems like Blizzard is buffing a lot of the anti-tank stuff. And I don't know if this is in direct response to the GOATs and the Death Ball type stuff, all those comps, the multi-tank comps, if they're trying to kind of fight it by buffing these anti-tank characters. But that's certainly what's happening. Again, I don't know if these changes are actually going to be enough to kind of diminish the effectiveness of those multi-tank lineups. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I really want to emphasize, though, that even if it looks a little lackluster in the patch notes, oh, Reaper and Roadhog got a reduction of 50% in the randomization. If you've been watching this video, they can one-shot any of the training bots. In fact, for Roadhog, what used to happen, what happens on the live version of the game, is you have to damage the target first, then you hook them, then you have to step forward in order to left click, use your primary attack, and then you still have to follow up with a quick melee, and you still might not do enough damage to take out that target. But here we have on the PTR, I can just hook them and left click without moving, no quick melee, no nothing, just hook, left click, dead. So that is crazy, crazy amounts of damage potential. Even though they didn't actually increase the amount of damage, just narrowing that spread and reducing that randomization is going to allow him to do way more. Roadhog is going to be so much more dangerous after this patch goes to live, and Reaper as well. As you saw with Reaper, if he does get in close, he only needs to land one critical on you and you're just done. And as far as Symmetra goes, right now we do have those GOATS comps and the tank-heavy death balls, and all of those characters stay really close together. If Symmetra is able to survive, if she can be kept alive by her tank and her healers, then she's going to be able to pump out an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage into all of the enemies. So they are definitely cranking up the anti-tank stuff in the game. So there you go, guys. What do you think about these changes? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.